Well. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Talking Sports Podcast right here on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. You guys are listening to this Friday morning. I am recording this Friday morning, but not at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. or noon, whenever you listen to it. It is just after midnight on this Thursday evening, after the Mets defeated the Brewers in Game 3 of the final wild card game of this wild card series that we saw a handful of sweeps. We saw one series go to 3 games, and it was great as the Mets defeated the Brewers. So right now we're recording the divisional series right ahead, or the divisional series preview right ahead of the division series round, which begins on Saturday. So it's a late night here for you guys. Hopefully you guys waking up listening to this. If you're on Apple Podcasts, if you're on Spotify, drop a like, drop a follow, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and make sure you guys follow us on social media at Talking Sports PD. And as always, we are sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Make sure you guys use code TSP for a 100% deposit match up to $100. Guys, we are this dedicated. It is right now 12:03 a.m. I am recording this. I still have to go edit this after. I still have to go add the thumbnail after. I have to get this ready for when you guys wake up. You guys can listen to this. If you're an Apple Podcast, it's Spotify, you get it first. If you're YouTube, you get it a little later. But this is how dedicated we are. Got all my notes ready from all these games, from all these series. We're going to break them down. And let's start in the AL. Yankees taking on the Royals. The Yankees obviously being the 1 seed, while the Royals being the team that just finished off the wild card series, defeating the Baltimore Orioles in 2 games. So let's start with the Royals. I know we talked about them earlier this week, but let's talk about them a little more, right? Cole Ragans and Seth Lugo both had very good starts against the Orioles. They were dominant. They were sharp. They completely stymied an offense where, if you saw me on social media talk about how good this Orioles offense is, I thought it was very good. It was not good against the Royals. Rotation was great. Starting for game 1, it won't be Cole Ragans and it won't be Seth Lugo. It will be Michael Wacha. Michael Wacha did not pitch in the American League Wildcard Series, but he pitched in the regular season to a 3.35 season ERA. Basically, what I've learned from the season from the Royals and what I learned from the 2 games in Baltimore, their pitching is great, their pitching is great, and their pitching is great. Royals bullpen was also great in that wild card series. One thing I would say, if you're a Royals fan heading into the series against the Yankees, right? You pulled the upset already against Baltimore. I picked Baltimore too. It was a completely wrong pick. I was just completely wrong on that. In 2 games that they played, their offense put up a total of 3 runs. I'm going to be completely honest with you. That offensive output will not be enough to defeat the New York Yankees, right? The Yankees lean on their offense. They have an elite offense in Aaron Judge and Juan Soto and Giancarlo Stanton and Gleyber Torres, right? Like Austin Wells as well. This offense is really good for the New York Yankees when they're clicking, and if they're clicking, 3 runs is not going to be enough. I do like how Bobby Witt Jr. came into this series, or is coming into this series after the wild card series. 3 for 9 was a 333 batting average, 2 RBIs. He just felt like, look, they had 3 total runs, and 2 of them were driven in by Bobby Witt Jr. Basically, their full offense, right? I don't know if that is withstandable. I don't know if that's like sustainable for a full series, a full 5-game series. Obviously, that's what the divisional series in the AL and the NL is, a full 5-game series. I don't know if it is. We will find out. Moving on to the Yankees, right? How about Aaron Judge, right? The best player in baseball, the best hitter in baseball. And he's coming in with a chip on his shoulder, right? His postseason has not been to what his regular season has been, and I think people know that, right? Giancarlo Stanton, who's been an up and down regular season player for the Yankees, is an elite postseason hitter. Gleyber Torres is starting to come hot. The last 2.5 months has been one of the best leadoff hitters in baseball. Jason Dominguez should get the start in left field. You also have Jazz Chisholm, who at the deadline added a little spunk, a little charisma, a little passion to this Yankees team, and that's what Jazz Chisholm. And Jazz Chisholm has been very good. And you can't forget this guy, Juan freaking Soto. One of the best hitters in baseball, is going to go down as one of the best hitters ever in baseball. And he's already going to be at age 25. Has won a World Series with the Nationals, has legit postseason experience with both the Padres and then with the Nationals. And this guy adds another dynamic weapon to this lineup that they have not had in recent postseasons with the Yankees. Juan Soto is absolutely the difference maker for this team. Bullpen's been up and down, still pitching to a very good ERA. I want to see how they manage the 8th and ninth. Is it a little bit of Tommy Kahnle? Is it Ian Hamilton? Is it Clay Holmes? Is Luke Weaver that closer? Is Clark Schmidt coming out of the pen? We do know Garrett Cole's getting game 1. Carlos Rodon's getting game 2. Most likely Luis Heel or Clark Schmidt are getting game 3. And then obviously game 4 and game 5, we do not know yet. But couple good starters. Garrett Cole, full confidence in a sub-3 ERA, career ERA in the postseason. Full confidence in Garrett Cole heading into Saturday night's start. Carlos Rodon, what Carlos Rodon are they going to get? If they get the good Carlos Rodon, the series can be over really fast. If they get the shaky one that lets up a couple home runs, I don't love this series potentially for the Yankees. And obviously, I forgot to bring this banner up. That's what happens when you don't have a producer. But no, I think the Yankees I think everything points towards the Yankees, and I think we'll use a little bit of an end cut here, right? Based on how this postseason has shaped out for the Yankees, with the Royals being left, with the Guardians being left, and with the Tigers being left, I know it's early, but if the Yankees don't get to the World Series, I'm not saying win the World Series, but if they don't get to this World Series, I think it'll be a major disappointment, and I think it'll be a major disappointment if they do not defeat the Royals and get to the ALCS. And I do have the Yankees defeating the Kansas City Royals in 4 games. Okay, moving on to the final series of the ALDS, the Guardians taking on the Tigers. The Guardians getting the other bye to the ALDS, while the Tigers, guess who called it? That is me, people. I called it. Tigers defeated the Houston Astros, and I thought the Tigers were that team. They remind me of the Mets, who we're going to get to in a little bit, of the AL, and that is the Detroit Tigers. Pitching was great in the series against the Astros. Tariq Skubal looked like prime Justin Verlander in game 1. And then you know what the Tigers do in complete Tiger fashion? Do a little bit of that scrappiness, of that putting it together, piecing it together, and we got that in game 2, and that was with a full-on bullpen game, and they ended up cruising to another victory against the Astros, right? Offense still a little bit concerned. They did score 5 runs in game 2, which I think is a good sign. Up and down offense was good against the Astros. Parker Meadows, some guy that we did not talk about in the Wild Card Series preview, scrappy, crucial power. They're going to have to lean on him along with Riley Green. The Tigers are going to have guys that if you're a casual baseball fan, if you're not a diehard baseball fan, or you just watch your team and it's not the Detroit Tigers, you are going to have those type of guys that you might not know step up. And they did in the AL wildcard series against the Astros on offense. They're going to have to step up against the Guardians. Pitching is key. Bullpen is great. Rotation is great. They're going to lean on this rotation along with the Royals. Very similar makeups, both leaning on their pitching outside of their hitting. Kind of both very one-dimensional teams. Tigers heading into this ALDS. I like it. Let's talk about the Guardians. We did not get to talk about the Guardians in the wildcard series because they did not play. Jose Ramirez, right? I said Bobby Wood Jr. might have been the MVP if Juan Soto, Aaron Judge didn't exist. Jose Ramirez was probably maybe mention me. That is Jose Ramirez. He had an absolute phenomenal year. And this is a guy that just does not get the praise year in and year out and keeps producing. He's like the Mike Evans of the MLB. I talk about bullpens and I talk about Tigers bullpen, Tigers rotation, Royals bullpen, Yankees rotation. I talk about all these pitching staffs in the AL. This Guardians bullpen is just unbelievable. These 4 guys have all sub-2 ERAs, and they're qualified pitchers. Emmanuel Clase, Cade Smith, Hunter Geddes, Tim Herron all have sub-2 ERAs. I talked about in the wildcard series. Teams that win in the postseason rely on pitching and mainly rely on their bullpen. The Guardians do fit that model. And then they do have game 1 starter, Tana Beebe, 3.47 starting pitching ERA. Don't love the rest of this offense. It kind of came down to earth in the second half. It's a small ball team. It relies a lot on Jose Ramirez, right? And I think rotation, don't love the rotation, not super deep. Don't, don't love their offense outside of Jose Ramirez and a couple other bats. I think they're going to lean a little bit too much on this bullpen and might buy them a game or two. I am pulling this upset. I am picking the upset. I like the Tigers in 5 games. I think the Tigers are just that team of destiny, and I think they get it to 5 games. So you guys know what that means. ALCS, Tigers, Yankees, just like the old days. Before we get to the NL, we're going to have to take a sip of water because it's just me and I'm thirsty. We got to clear that throat, right? Okay, moving over to the NL. I want to talk about this series because this series is going to be epic. Phillies, Mets. This team, for the amount of times they've played each other, being in the same division, playing double-digit times every year, have never met in the postseason. We're going to get it this time. Let's talk about the Phillies before we get to these Mets team that just finds a way to win baseball games. It's crazy. You think they're dead, and they find a way. Phillies, great top 3 rotation, right? And that fits perfectly in. Excuse me. It fits perfectly. I'm getting over a cold and I got to talk straight. Phillies rotation fits perfectly in this type of series, right? Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Christopher Sanchez, all 3 guys that the Phillies trust, that you should trust to get the job done. And I talk about the Padres bats. How about this? Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, Nick Castellanos all have legit powerful bats. And I think the Phillies team is top to bottom really deep. Rotation, bullpen, little interesting for the bullpen. And I think talk about experience here, right? The Phillies' last 2 playoff appearances, a World Series appearance 2 years ago, and an NLCS appearance last year. This team is seeking a little bit of revenge, right? I know they didn't get bounced in the NLDS the last 2 years. They made a World Series and they made the NLCS last year, but I think this team has a chip on their shoulder, right? I think they should have won a World Series or have gotten to another one last year before they got upset by the Diamondbacks, who eventually lost to the Texas Rangers, right? I think this rotation is deeper. I think these bats are more experienced, and I think a 1-2-3 punch of Wheeler, Nola, Sanchez is really good, and I think the Phillies are perfectly set up to compete in this series and potentially win this series. Let's talk about the Mets. I wrote in my notes, Mets have the clutch gene. Top of the 9th, 1 out, 1st and 3rd, Pete Alonso's up. The guy that's been, if you flip on WFN in New York, ridiculed, ripped, don't bring him back. Doesn't hit with clutch, doesn't hit with runners in scoring position, grounds into double plays, can't do an interview, can't do this, can't do that, can't do all of that. Hits a 3-run bomb, his biggest hit of his career, and might have been his last at bat as a Met, depending on if they lost and he left in free agency. And obviously that's still TBD because they're still playing baseball. They defeated the Brewers in 3. Rotation, solid, right? We saw David Peterson come out of the bullpen in the 9th, but Sean Manaea, David Peterson, Luis Severino, Jose Quintana, guys that are producing bigger than their name. Their stat line and the games they are putting out and their output is bigger than their name. And I think those guys are going to be leaned on healthily. Maybe this gets Pete Alonso hot, right? In a best of 3 series, you don't need all your potential key guys to get hot. In a 5-game series and against this Phillies team, you do. And I think Pete Alonso, don't know if he's hot, hasn't been performing well until that final 3-run home run, which was his clutchest hit of his career. Maybe this is the time he gets hot, and the Mets do need him to get hot. Lindor and Nimmo have been great. I wrote they need more offense. Like I don't know if this offense, and I know they keep finding a ways to win games, but we saw in game 2 against the Brewers, they score early and then just go from the 3rd inning to the 9th inning without putting up a single run, putting up any threats, and they ended up losing, and that eventually forced a game 3. I think if you're the Mets, you need a little bit more consistent offense from the 1st inning to the 9th. Bullpen still a little bit in question. Didn't really see any question marks in game 3. Major question marks in game 2. I think the Phillies are a different animal than the Brewers. And because of that, and I think the Mets are a cool story. They're a fun story. They're interesting. They're exciting. Everyone's around them. I think their party comes crashing down in the NLDS. And I like the Phillies in 5. No, I like the Phillies in 4. Excuse me. And then the final round of the NLDS. Make sure you guys like, make sure you guys comment, and make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, do that as well. And make sure you guys follow us on social media at Talking Sports PD. Dodgers, Padres. Let's start with the Padres. Elite offense showed up against the Braves. They looked like a total different team against the Braves. I'm going to leave this short, right? I think The Braves looked like they had no chance. They battled a little bit in game 2 of the wild card series. Didn't have enough. They were just happy to be there and get into the postseason. I think the Padres made really quick work with it and showed how deep their rotation can be and how deep that lineup can be. Enough said. Moving on to the Dodgers here, right? Dodgers. I talked about the Phillies have needed a little chip on their shoulder, maybe revenge, even though the Phillies made a World Series 2 years ago and the NLCS last year. How about the Dodgers? Did you guys know this? 2 straight NLDS losses for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Will be a third? We'll find out. Jack Flaherty, Yamamoto, both guys getting the ball in game 1 and game 2. Not a lot of depth behind that, but in this type of series, you can lean on this team. You can also lean on Shohei Ohtani, second best bat in baseball. Freddie Freeman, one of the best first basemen in baseball, and Mookie Betts, right? You can lean on those 3 guys to carry you in this postseason. Mookie Betts, 0 for 13 last year in last year's postseason. He needs to have a bounce back year. We know how capable he is. He was great with the Red Sox. He's been great with the Dodgers. Just didn't show up last year in the postseason, and one of the reasons they got bounced in the NLDS was because of Mookie Betts. And the Dodgers have 4th best bullpen ERA, and they're going to lean on their bullpen after Flaherty and Yamamoto. What a pickup, right? Like Flaherty goes from the Tigers, who we thought were dead in the rights in this halfway through the year, and now the Tigers and the Dodgers are in the same round. Tigers in the ALDS taking on the Guardians, and the Dodgers in the NLDS taking on the Padres, right? Like, who would have thought? Who would have thunk this? It wasn't me. They're going to lean on that bullpen. They're going to lean on their bats. Their depth's not great, even though this team is super talented. 2 straight losses in the NLDS. Is it a third? I think it is. I got the San Diego Padres pulling off the upset and winning in 5 games. Wow, that was a lot. It's past midnight. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go to sleep because I'm tired. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I hopefully you guys have enjoyed so far the wild card round. I think it's going to pick up. I think we're going to get some steam here. Just to go through the picks again. Padres in 5 over the Dodgers. Phillies in 4 over the Mets. Tigers in 5 over the Guardians. And the Yankees in 4 over the Royals. Like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. As always, we are sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. It's baseball time. It's football time. College football, NFL, NBA is right around the corner. MLB postseason right in the middle of the action. Make sure you guys get on Underdog Fantasy and make sure you guys use code TSP. Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you leave a review, we really appreciate it. If you download the episode, that means a lot. It really helps us out. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. Guys, this is how much I care about you. It is 12:19 a.m. on Friday morning. I got to get up and go to actual work tomorrow. I have a full-time job. I got to go do that. But I'm dedicated, and I love you guys, and I appreciate everything. Appreciate all the comments. I read all the comments. Thank you for all the support on that wild card episode. We just hit about 3,000 views. It means a ton. I really, really appreciate it. This is going to do it for us in this one. We'll be back with the ALCS and NLCS preview, and we'll see how we did on our picks. Make sure you follow us on social media. Make sure you follow us on all platforms. Hopefully you guys have a good night's sleep. Hopefully I got to get some sleep, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Like, comment, and subscribe. Road to 5K continues. We'll see you guys I don't even know how to end this, but we'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.